Did you know that most of what you worry about never actually happens? This video is for you if your heart races out of nowhere, your chest feels tight, or your mind spins in a never-ending loop of what-ifs. If you are tired of overthinking and feeling trapped in spirals of doubt, you are in the right place. Together, we will explore what anxiety really is, how it shows up in your life, and most importantly, practical ways to take back control. So let's dive in and uncover the truth about anxiety. Before we start, I invite you to think about this. How many times has your mind tricked you into imagining the worst-case scenarios only for reality to turn out completely different? Anxiety is like a smoke alarm, loud, urgent, and often a false warning. It is designed to protect you, but sometimes it just goes off at the wrong time. Think of anxiety as your brain's built-in alarm system. It goes off whenever you feel worried, scared, or uneasy about something that might happen. It is your body's way of preparing you for challenges, even if the danger isn't real. Imagine an overprotective friend who constantly shouts danger, even when everything is perfectly fine. Or think of it like a smoke alarm. It can save your life in a real emergency, but sometimes it just goes off because you burned some toast. Anxiety works in the same way, raising alarms even when there is no real threat. This overreaction happens because of something called the fight or flight response. In ancient times, this response was essential for survival, helping our ancestors escape from real physical dangers. But here is the problem. Our brain haven't caught up with modern life. Today, this same response gets triggered by things like a presentation, a tough conversation, or meeting new people, as if they were life-threatening. Your brain thinks it's protecting you, but in reality, it is just overreacting to everyday stressors. And here is something important. Feeling anxious doesn't mean there is something wrong with you. You are not weak and you are not broken. Anxiety is one of the most common human emotions. It is simply your body and mind reacting to stress, uncertainty, or fear, things we all face. I deal with anxiety too, and I want you to know it's okay to feel anxious. We all do. Why does anxiety feel so intense? Our brains are wired for something called negativity bias. This means we naturally focus more on potential threats than positive outcomes. Why? Because your brain's primary job is to keep you safe. It is always scanning for anything that could go wrong. But here is the tricky part. Your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. Whether you are facing an actual danger or just imagining the worst-case scenario, your body reacts the same way. Think about how your heart races during a scary movie. Even though you are safe on your couch, your body responds as if you are in danger. That is how powerful your brain's alarm system can be. When I started a job as a customer service representative, I felt completely overwhelmed. Handling calls, emails, and chats from frustrated customers was intense. The pressure to multitask while staying calm felt impossible. To make things worse, my colleagues' anxiety added fuel to the fire. They shared stories about angry customers, mistakes, and unrealistic expectations. I absorbed that energy and soon I was spiraling. My heart raced at the thought of a difficult call, and my mind was stuck in endless what-ifs. It got to the point where I dreaded going to work. I'd rather stay home than face the stress. But then I had a realization. None of the fears I was imagining were actually happening. They were just stories my mind had created. Anxiety wasn't protecting me actually. It was holding me back. When I recognized this, I made a choice. Instead of reacting to my anxiety, I started responding to it. That simple shift changed everything. Remember this, anxiety is a natural reaction, but it's not reality. Once you see it for what it really is, just an overactive alarm, you can begin to take back control. How anxiety manifests? To understand anxiety better, we need to explore how it shows up in our body, emotions, mind, and behavior. Recognizing these signs is the first step to working with anxiety rather than letting it control you. Anxiety often makes its presence known through your body. You might feel your heart racing, your chest tightening, or your breath becoming short and shallow. Your palms may sweat, your muscles tense, or your hands might shake. As anxiety intensifies, it can affect your stomach too, causing nausea, a churning feeling, or those all too familiar butterflies. These physical sensations are your body's built-in alarm system in action, preparing you to fight or flight. It's like your body saying, hey, something is up, even if the threat isn't real. Anxiety also shows up in your emotions. You may feel persistent worry about what might happen, an overwhelming sense of fear, or even irritability. These emotions, though heavy, are not your enemy. They are like signals from within asking for your attention. So instead of pushing them away, acknowledging them is the first step to calming them. Anxiety often hijacks the mind. You may find yourself overthinking, replaying what-if scenarios over and over again. You might feel disconnected, like you are in a fog, or spiral into catastrophic thinking where your mind automatically jumps to the worst possible outcome. It's as though your brain is stuck in overdrive, fueling both the physical sensations and emotional distress, creating a loop that feels impossible to escape. Then, there is how anxiety influences your behavior. You might notice yourself avoiding people or situations that could trigger anxiety, seeking constant reassurances from others to feel more secure, or engaging in repetitive actions like tapping, pacing, or biting your nails. While these behaviors may feel like coping mechanisms, they can sometimes reinforce anxiety, making it feel even bigger and more unmanageable. Anxiety can feel like a trap. Your body, emotions, mind, and behaviors feeding into each other in a never-ending cycle. But here is the truth. This cycle can be broken. And the first crucial step is recognizing these patterns for what they are, just signals from your mind and body, not the absolute truth. Why do we feel anxiety? Before we dive into managing anxiety, let's take a step back and understand why we feel it in the first place. Anxiety arises when your brain perceives a threat, whether real or imagined. It is your mind's way of trying to protect you, but sometimes it overreacts. That is why understanding anxiety's triggers is so important. When we know what sparks it, we can begin to respond to it more effectively. And here are 4 common triggers of anxiety. 1. Fear of the unknown and losing control. Anxiety often creeps in when we face situations with uncertain outcomes, a new job, a big decision, or a significant life change. Our brains hate uncertainty and instinctively fill in the gaps with worst-case scenarios. This need for control is tied to our natural instinct to avoid pain or bad experiences. Similarly, the fear of losing control when life feels unpredictable can trigger anxiety. Your mind might say, what if you cannot handle this? Or how will you figure it out? But here is the truth. The unknown isn't always bad. You've handled challenges before and you can handle this one too. You don't have to define uncertainty as negative. Instead, approach it with curiosity and an open mind. Number 2, pressure to perform or fear of judgment. Whether it's public speaking, taking an exam, or navigating relationships, the pressure to perform can feel overwhelming. Much of this pressure comes from worrying about what others think of us. From a young age, many of us are taught to seek approval. Over time, we tie our self-worth to others' opinions, creating a cycle of anxiety around judgment and rejection. Here is the key. Your value isn't defined by others. You don't need to meet impossible standards or fear rejection. Your worth is something you define, and you are enough just as you are. And here is another truth. Most people aren't even thinking about us as much as we imagine. We create these expectations in our mind, but in reality, nobody cares as much as we think they do. Number 3, past experiences and overthinking. Anxiety loves to bring the past into the present. If you have faced criticism or failure before, your mind might replay those fears. What if it happens again? While this protective instinct makes sense, it can also hold you back. Just because something went wrong in the past doesn't mean it will happen again. You are stronger now, more experienced, and better equipped to handle challenges. And then there is overthinking. Does your mind ever get stuck in a loop of what-ifs? You replay situations, imagine the worst, and stress over things that may never even happen. Here is the trick. Break that cycle. Stop letting your mind run wild with worst-case scenarios and redirect your imagination toward best-case scenarios. Expecting the best takes the same energy as expecting the worst, so why not use it to your advantage? Number 4, physical stressors and environmental factors. Sometimes anxiety isn't just about your thoughts, it's rooted in your physical and environmental state. Lack of sleep, poor nutrition, or too much caffeine can make you more sensitive to anxiety. Hormonal imbalances or health conditions can also play a role. Toxic environments, whether a stressful workplace, chaotic home, or difficult relationships, can increase anxiety over time. Taking care of your body by resting, eating well, and staying hydrated can significantly reduce physical stressors. Similarly, creating a safe and supportive environment can help ease external stress and calm your mind. Anxiety often appears when there is a gap between what we want to control and what feels unpredictable. By identifying these triggers, you can start closing that gap, giving yourself the power to respond to anxiety rather than react to it. How to work with anxiety, not against it. Now that you understand what anxiety is, how it shows up, and what triggers it, it is time to take action. Let's dive into 4 practical ways to manage it. Disclaimer: these techniques are helpful for managing everyday anxiety. However, if you are experiencing chronic or severe anxiety, please seek professional support. There is no shame in asking for help. It can make a world of difference. Now, number 1, acknowledge the anxiety and identify the trigger. When anxiety arises, our instinct is often to fight or ignore it. But here is a powerful truth. Acknowledging anxiety without judgment helps you regain control. Simply naming the feeling creates space to respond, not react. I remember when I started my customer service job, I would feel anxious before each call. My instinct was to push the anxiety away, but that only made things worse. One day, I tried something different. I told myself I feel anxious right now, and that's okay. Let's focus on helping the customer. This small shift gave me relief, and I realized it wasn't about me. It was about supporting the customer. Here is how to acknowledge anxiety in 3 steps. 1. Name it. I feel anxious right now, and that's okay. 2. Pause and breathe. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, and exhale for 6. 3. Allow the feeling. Let the anxiety be there without judging it. Just notice it. Next, to manage anxiety, ask yourself, what is making me anxious right now? Pinpointing the trigger, whether it's a fear of failure, uncertainty, or past experiences, help you shift from reacting emotionally to responding intentionally. 2. Breathe to calm your nervous system and ground yourself. Shallow breathing often accompanies anxiety, which sends a signal to your brain that something is wrong, intensifying the fight or flight response. But by slowing your breath, you can reverse this. Breathing is a quick reset for your nervous system. You can use the breathing exercise we mentioned earlier. Inhale deeply for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and exhale slowly for 6 counts. This helps calm your body and mind. Imagine telling your brain, I'm safe. There is no danger. You can also use grounding techniques to stay present and break the cycle of what ifs. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method is perfect for this. 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. This helps shift your focus from anxiety about the future to the present moment, which is usually safe. If you are in the present, you are not running, you are grounded. 3. Reframe anxious thoughts. Anxiety loves to spin what-if scenarios, feeding us with worst-case outcomes. But remember, those thoughts aren't facts. They are just stories your mind creates. You have the power to rewrite them. When I was in customer service, my mind raced with anxious thoughts about every call. What if I mess up, I would think, but instead of letting those thoughts control me, I challenged them. I asked myself, what is the best-case scenario? What if I help someone and make their day better? And here is how to reframe your thoughts. 1. Pause and notice. I am having an anxious thought right now. 2. Challenge the thought. Ask, is this true? Or what is the best case scenario? 3. Shift your focus. Imagine a positive or neutral outcome instead of the worst. The key is to shift your mindset from I'm in danger to I am capable. Anxiety is a signal, not a sentence. Number 4, the unknown isn't the enemy. Anxiety often stems from fearing the unknown. But here is something important. The unknown isn't inherently bad. It is just unknown. You don't need to fill in the blanks with fear. You can approach uncertainty with confidence, knowing that you have the ability to handle whatever comes your way. Remember, the next time anxiety creeps in, you have a choice. You can stay stuck in fear, or you can embrace the unknown with curiosity. So the next time anxiety strikes, try this. 1. Acknowledge it. 2. Take a deep breath and pause. 3. Challenge your thoughts and imagine a positive outcome. By responding, not reacting, you will regain control and move from anxiety to calm. The key is to find what works for you. Anxiety doesn't have to control your life. With these tools, you can calm your mind, ground yourself, and navigate your day with more ease. Anxiety often feels isolating, but remember, you are not alone. Everyone experiences it at some point. I remember staying up all night, consumed by worry about a conversation the next day. My mind spiraled, imagining every worst-case scenario. By morning, the conversation was calm, nothing like the drama I would created in my head. That is what anxiety does. It magnifies situations. We waste so much energy on what-ifs that rarely come true. Anxiety turns small challenges into mountains, but when we look more rationally, most of our fears are unfounded. Another important thing to consider is that there are lots of misconceptions about anxiety that make it harder to manage. First, anxiety isn't something we need to eliminate. It is a natural reaction to stress, and the goal is to understand and manage it. Another myth is that anxiety means something is wrong with you. It doesn't. Anxiety is a protective response, and recognizing this reduces shame and allows for self-compassion. Anxiety might make you feel like you cannot handle things, but remember, it is a signal, not a barrier. You can still move forward, take action, and succeed. The good news is that anxiety doesn't have to control you. With practice, you can shift anxiety from a paralyzing force to a tool for growth. Each time you face it, you build resilience. Anxiety isn't a sentence, it's a signal. By responding with clarity instead of reacting impulsively, you regain control. Over time, you will feel more confident in managing anxiety and navigating challenges with ease. Remember, anxiety is just a signal, not the truth. The next time it arises, ask yourself, is this alarm real, or is it just my mind trying to keep me safe? If you would like to dive deeper, check out my video, Did You Know Your Brain is Wired for Negativity, to understand how your brain works and manage your emotions. Also, don't miss my video on emotional triggers, which will help you master your emotions and use them as signals for personal growth. You will find the link in the end screen and description. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to help spread emotional awareness. Thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Much love.